When Picasso painted his magnum opus, it wasn't the first time he had picked up a brush. When Beethoven wrote his Fifth Symphony, it wasn't the first time he had composed one. And when Howard Ashman and Alan Menken wrote Part of Your World from The Little Mermaid, it wasn't the first time that they had written a song of yearning for a far-off place. Hello, my name is Mateo if you don't already know me, and this is Music Theater Theory. Whoa! Today, we are looking at a song called Somewhere That's Green. This is from one of my favorite shows ever, Little Shop of Horrors. And it was written, the music was written by Alan Menken, and the lyrics were written by Howard Ashman. Now, Alan Menken and Howard Ashman went on to write Beauty and the Beast for Disney together, as well as The Little Mermaid. And in The Little Mermaid, they have this song, Part of Your World, that we've all heard of, you know, the Look at This Stuff, Isn't It Neat song. And that song is almost exactly the same as a song they wrote almost a decade prior, called Somewhere That's Green. That's what we're looking at today. By the way, shout out to Megan, one of my patrons on Patreon, who decided the topic for this video today. She suggested this song, and I just think it's a fantastic song, so I can't wait to look at it. So, should I give you some context? Audrey is living on Skid Row with a cast of zany characters. She's working at a flower shop, and she's in this abusive relationship with a dentist. It would be the makings of a really dark drama if the tone of the whole show wasn't so tongue-in-cheek and ironic and campy. And the irony is that later in the show, there's a man-eating plant who comes and eats everybody. So it kind of makes it ironic that Audrey's talking about going somewhere that's green. But this is a song that Audrey sings early in the show. It's, as you can see, the 6th musical number in the show. That's what that means when you're looking at the score like this. And she sings it about this dream that she has of leaving her abusive dentist boyfriend, who's addicted to nitrous oxide, and running away with Seymour to a lovely little house in the countryside. And the things that she thinks of as very glamorous are hilariously not very glamorous at all, which just makes us fall in love with the character and her innocence. So it starts like this. I know Seymour's the greatest, but I'm dating a semi-sadist. Do you see what I mean by it's tongue-in-cheek? That rhyme makes it sound funny, especially like comedic and unexpected rhymes like that. The rhyme is really what makes it sound tongue-in-cheek and lighter than the subject matter actually is. So I got a black eye in my arms in a cast. Now, this is the first time that we hear that little piano figure. We hear it again right before she starts to sing the proper song here. And this piano figure is a big reason why this song is so well beloved and so successful, because it really is a perfect example of musical storytelling. This is a song about somebody who feels trapped where they are, and even though where they are is very dark, they have so much optimism and they want to go somewhere else. So, first of all, we have this like upward reaching inner voicing. Right? Check it out. Right? And that constantly feels like it's just reaching upward. Da, 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 da. So it's reaching for something that she can't quite get, but it's still full of hope and optimism because of that upward movement. The other thing, now this is not a widely agreed upon music theory truth. This is just my opinion. But there's something about that chord that we end on there. We end on basically a G major 7 chord. And a major 7 chord is one of the most reflective chords to me because it's built off of one of the most dissonant intervals of all time. that major seventh, which if I put them in the same octave, they'd be right next to each other on the piano. So it's super dissonant. And then they also, though, have these very consonant intervals in the middle, which make up the major chord. So you've got this very consonant sound together with that very dissonant sound, and it creates this sound that is both consonant, resolved, stable, but also dissonant. And that kind of two sides of the same coin feeling of the major seventh chord is what makes it feel so reflective to me. And furthermore, I think that if you put all the notes closer together on the piano, like that, a G, B, D, and F sharp, no matter where they are on the piano, those four notes constitute a G major 7 chord. So if you put them right next to each other on the piano, because the notes are closer together, it feels like a close-up. You know what I mean? It feels like you're right up close with the character. But if you spread them out a lot, like, it feels much more far away. And the more you spread out the notes, the more far away it feels. So the fact that we've got it voiced like this, where all the notes are pretty spread out at the end, that makes it feel like the upward movement makes it feel like it's reaching for something, and the spread outness of the notes makes it feel like it's far away. So we've got this like very clear musical image of her reaching for a faraway place that she longs to be in. Then we get the song proper. So up until that point, that's all kind of an intro section. And then we get the main melody, which is this melody here. A fence of real chain link. And there you see what I mean when I say the things she thinks of as glamorous or dreamy are not that glamorous or dreamy at all. She's singing just about a matchbox. She's just singing about a fence of real chain link, which is so... It's not, she could have been singing about, 10,000 diamonds, but she's not. All she wants is a fence of chain link. And because her dreams are so relatively small, we understand how horrible her living conditions must be where she currently is. And the irony is amplified by how beautiful the chords are underneath. Right? These high piano chords. That tension there with those two notes next to each other that then resolves. So they're close and then they spread out. There's a tension and then a release. Oh, it's beautiful. And then this beautiful walk down. It's so lovely. It's so emotional. And the fact that she's getting so emotional about, a grill is that irony is really, really funny. And that's why this song is so hilarious. So something that's very important about this song is that it is in AABA song form, which I talk about a lot. Basically, it's a traditional Broadway music writing song form where you start with a melody called the A melody, then you repeat that melody, so A. Then you have a different melody that shows contrast, so B, and then you have the A melody come back at the end. And sometimes some of the A melodies vary a little bit from each other, but more or less they're the same melody. And that creates a certain amount of repetition. It's catchy with enough contrast in that B section that it's still interesting. And that song form was very, very popular on Broadway from, the early 1900s all the way up until present day. It's still, you can still find it a lot on Broadway. And this is one of those songs. We start with the A melody. A matchbox of our own, a fence of real chain link. And then we get to the end of the A melody. It goes, somewhere that's green. That's the title of the song. And then we go into the next section, which is the same section, another A section. He rakes and trims the grass. He loves to mow and weed. Same notes. Then we get this other section where we come from the ending of the second A section. Somewhere that's green. Same thing. Now it changes for the B section right here. It goes, between our frozen dinner and our bedtime, 9:15. So there's similarities. We still have this descending line that's in the A section, right? But we also have these chords that are totally outside of the key signature. E flat major is that chord, which doesn't appear at all in the key that we're in, which is G major. So it's it's kind of out of nowhere. It creates a harmonic contrast because we've been stuck in G major. Now we're getting this E flat major sound. It's very different. And then we get back to, I'm his December bride. He's father. He knows best. Our A melody. So we have A, B, A perfectly. Then at the very end, we have, this is very important, remember this, a big kind of crescendo where she sings very passionately, and then quieter and slower, this kind of ending section that is kind of an extension of the A melody. It sounds like this. A picture out of Better Homes and Gardens magazine. Far from Skid Row, I dream we'll go somewhere that's green. And then we have this same piano intro from the beginning, jumping up the octaves. It starts down here, then goes up here, then goes up here, and ends on that really nice, lovely G major chord, and that one quick G at the very, very end, which is called a button in musical theater. It's that low note that it ends on. So remember that structure, right? We have this A section, this AABA that ends in an A section, that crescendos for a big sing for the singer, and then these 4 quiet notes, 4 quiet notes, 4 quiet notes at the end that's softer, and that is how the song ends. Now I want to show you the ending of Part of Your World from The Little Mermaid, which Howard Ashman and Alan Menken wrote together, same writers. They wrote this together for The Little Mermaid almost a decade later, and it ends with like, when's it my turn? Wouldn't I love to explore that shore up above? A big crescendo moment for the singer, and then quieter, out of the sea. Someday I'll be part of that world. And then this. Ascending section at the end. It is structured exactly the same. We have, just like in Summer That's Green, an intro section. I know Seymour's the greatest, but I'm dating a semi-sadist. That's the exact same as Look at This Stuff, Isn't It Neat? Wouldn't You Think My Collection Is Complete? From Part of That World, right? Exactly the same. Then we have the main A section. In Somewhere That's Green, it's a matchbox of our own. In Part of Your World, it's I want to be where the people are. But then we get it again. In Somewhere That's Green, we get Somewhere That's Green, and if I played in the same key, Part of That World, it's exactly the same hook, except for one note. Somewhere That's Green, Part of That World. Then we get the exact same melody again for the second A section. That's He Rakes and Trims the Grass in Somewhere That's Green. And then if I play it in the same key for part of that world, it's flipping your fins, you don't get too far, right? So the second A section. Then we get a bridge, which changes between our frozen dinner, and we get that E flat chord in Somewhere That's Green. In Part of That World, we get, or Part of Your World, I keep calling it Part of That World because that's what she sings, but the title of the song is actually Part of Your World. She goes, what would I give if I could live out of these waters? What would I pay to spend one day warm on the sand? Bet you on land they understand, bet they don't reprimand their daughters, something like that. I'm not sure what the exact chords are because I'm not looking at the sheet music, and I maybe should have pulled that up, but I didn't. But you see, they've got that same, like, reprimand their daughters. There's some sort of, like, E flat in the harmony there, which is an echo of this E flat in the harmony of Somewhere That's Green. And again, it's a different melody. It's a B section. Then finally, we come back to the ending, which is a repeat of the A melody that gives the singer a chance to crescendo. A picture out of better homes, which is equivalent to, when's it my turn? Wouldn't I love to explore that shore up above? Then, this is my favorite part. And if you're still watching after 15 minutes, this is your reward. It goes, out of the sea, someday I'll be part of that world. Compare that to, far from Skid Row, I dream we'll go somewhere that's green. They're almost exactly the same at the ending. Those 4 quiet notes, 4 quiet notes, 4 quiet notes, ending with the hook. The hook is almost the exact same as I've already shown you, with 1 note of difference. So Howard Ashman and Alan Menken kind of, whatever it's called, sharpened their teeth or cut their teeth. I don't know what the term is, but there's a term for cutting your teeth or sharpening your teeth or honing your skills on this show, which was just like kind of an off-Broadway, campy, labor of love, Little Shop of Horrors. And then they took what they learned about writing this kind of a song in Little Shop of Horrors and used it to write the I Want song in The Little Mermaid, which is part of what made that movie so successful. Imagine how much less successful The Little Mermaid would be without that iconic song that we all know and love. And they wouldn't have been able to write that song if they hadn't practiced writing that kind of a song in Little Shop of Horrors. So it's not that they're ripping themselves off, right? It's not that they are repeating themselves because they're lazy. It's that they're taking what has worked in the past and building on it and using what they've learned to tell good stories in the future. And I think that is something really, really important for anybody who's composing to learn how to do. So I hope you found this very interesting. Thank you once again, Megan, over at Patreon for requesting it. And if you want to request what song I analyze next, make sure you sign up for my Patreon. The link is in the description. I can't wait to see you there. And peace out. I'll see you next week on Music Theater Theory. Whoa!